Late nights, I feel my heartbeat racing slow in candlelight. Words unspoken, feelings hidden, shadows dance until the morning light. When you say you need me, I'm holding on tight. All these doubts inside me fading out of sight. In this moment, nothing else feels right. You're probably right, yeah, you're probably right.
What's up, y'all? It's MCM, and you are listening to You're Probably Right podcast, episode 276. I got a real special one for you today. First of all, to my new listeners, I really appreciate you hanging out with me. It is long form podcast, monologue style, sometimes questions and answers, and all kinds of other stuff, but it's generally just me here. So yeah, when you look at the file and it looks really long, but I believe you're getting good information, and if not good information as to what to do, then good information as what not to do. Remember, I am a Christian, but this is not a Christian podcast. This is just a podcast by a Christian. So when I do recognize that I'm saying something that's totally off from what I truly believe, I will try to catch myself as best I can. But if you really want to know what the Bible says, you have to read the Bible, 66 books of the Bible. And best thing is to attend a Bible-believing expository type church that just reads and teaches the Bible as it is, and not some random pie in the sky idea that somebody thinks after all of these years they're giving us some new revelation on what it says. The text translates itself. Anyhow, I didn't mean to get off on that tangent, but I just like to be straight up. So the title of this episode is called 10 Things I Learned the Hard Way, so you don't have to. And just thinking about that title it's one of those things that I've said to my kids as a father. I've told them that, I've done certain things that have been wrong, certain things that have been right. I've had the good ideas from what I've learned, what I've seen, what I've been told, even by my parents, the little that they've been able to impart on some of the things that I've gone through, because really our lives just were not the same. So some of their explanations and things just didn't really apply in many cases, but sometimes they did. As growing up, they did raise me, both my parents and in the one home all my life until my father passed, and then my brother passed, and then my mother passed, and then my sister passed. So now there's just two of us left as I speak today. Anyhow, so I've said to my kids, getting back to what I was saying, is that you see me do some things that have been good. Please follow those things. The things that you've seen me or heard of me that I've done wrong, don't do those things. If I'm opening the door for you, please just walk through. There's no need to let the door close and bang on it to open again. I'm already opening it, and I'm already holding it open through the knowledge, the understanding, and the teachings that I've tried to give you, and I've inadvertently given you. And I'm just saying, please use your sense. So it's that type of a thing today, where it's like if me and you are walking down the road and I turn left and you turn right, and I go left and I get 40 lashes, and you had an ice cream sundae, and then you were told that you have to go another direction. And I'm telling you, please don't go down that way. I've been down that way. Just go back from where we came from. I would hope that you would just turn left and go back down where we came from, rather than trying to go straight across to the left side, because that's where I came from. And I'm telling you what was there. So I'm begging you, please don't go. Kind of like, I can't remember when it was that Dives and I can't remember. It's like the rich man and the beggar, and the rich man went to hell, and he's begging if that somebody could just go and tell the message to his brothers, I believe, not to come where he is. You know what I mean? So I'm just saying, like, in some way, shapes, and forms, I've been through some, I won't say hell, because maybe it's not a good thing to say, but it wouldn't be accurate, right? It's gonna be nothing like hell, but I'm just saying, I've been through some rough times, some dog times, I guess. I said rough, get it? Anyhow, so anywhere that I can hopefully explain properly and you can understand, I hope, so that if I can help one person from not making at least any one of those 10 mistakes that I've made. And yeah, you're gonna get it soon. You're gonna understand what I'm saying before I keep rambling on. Okay, this is gonna be a short one. It won't be very long, so you gotta listen up. Sometimes the lessons that change us most are the ones we wish we hadn't had to learn. I've done a lot of things that hurt me along the way, all done with best intentions. As far as people go, I thought I was a good person for most of my life. And then I finally realized I wasn't so nice, wasn't so patient, wasn't so loving as I thought. Or so I told myself anyway, that I was a decent person, I guess, or I had the best intentions. I've rescued people who didn't want saving. I've over-explained when silence would have been wiser and a better teacher. I've mistook shows of intensity for real lasting connection. If you're listening because you've done one of these things too, I want you to hear this as both a pep talk, a warning. You're not alone, and there's a cleaner, kinder way forward. I won't point fingers, and I won't do name drops. This is not a confessional meant to get anyone in trouble. It's a practical set of truths I've had to learn the hard way. I say them here so you don't have to discover each, I guess. You don't have to get each cut for yourself, some would say. I'll explain why each impulse felt right in the moment, why it hurt more than it helped, when, if ever, that move actually makes sense, and the simple pattern change you can use instead. If you want a real change, listen like you're learning a trade. These are not moral judgments, they're operational rules for keeping your heart and your dignity intact, which is not easy if you are a caring and loving, seemingly loving person. Number 1, caring past the point of logic. Caring past the point of logic. There's a noble story we tell ourselves about caring, that love is measured by how much we'll carry for someone else. So when we sense another person's pain, our instinct is to step forward. That instinct isn't bad. It's human. The problem starts when caring becomes rescue by default. When you keep showing up to fix someone's life, when you take responsibility for their emotional regulation or their choices, you create an unbalanced ecosystem. They get the whole benefit of your energy without necessarily doing the hard work that would make them actually whole. You get the cost, you get the time, you get the frustration, you get the resentment, you get the rejection. You might even get laughed at. And slowly a voice in your head that says, I keep giving and I never get back. Why it felt like the right thing? Because empathy requires action. You see suffering, you want to intervene and put it to an end, because you believe if you care harder, people will change. Why it hurts? It trains someone else to rely on you instead of themselves. You steal it from them. It can also blur the lines between your boundaries and their problems. You end up solving what isn't yours and neglecting what is yours and your peace. When it makes sense. When both parties agree to help and their accountability, therapy, clear goals, a timeline. If someone asks for practical help and actually working towards change, your care can actually be a bridge and helpful actually. The better approach, offer support with conditions. Say, I care and I'll help you with X for Y time. And I need you to be doing Z. Keep the help practical and time limited. That preserves your heart while still being kind. Number 2, mistaking intensity for connection. Boy, oh boy. Intensity is easy to mistake for intimacy. A late night conversation that feels electric can create the illusion of deep compatibility. Maybe there's certain things in your history, your upbringing, your culture, your interests, your abilities, your skills that make you think that you're connected in a special way. And a lover's intensity can feel like proof that you're seen. But there's a gulf between the adrenaline of a spark and the steady fuel of real partnership. Why it felt right? Well, of course, intensity is visceral. It wakes you up. It feels alive. Some would say it's sexy. It's often what first brings two people into orbit. A lot of the time it's dictated by the culture, social media these days, in front of you. Why it hurts? Intensity that isn't paired with reliability is fuel for volatility. The person who burns bright may also be the person who burns out. If someone shows energy in flashes, but doesn't show up when it's inconvenient, you won't be building a life. You'll be collecting fireworks. And trust me, fireworks burn out, or they don't last forever. When it makes sense, when both people use the spark as a doorway to deeper work and deeper connection, when the intensity inspires honesty, planning, and consistency. If it's only excitement without follow-through and follow-up and check-in, it's entertainment, not foundation. And many of us know if it's entertainment, we tend to do those things over and over and over again, right? Maybe you're the individual who has a certain movie that you watch every year or every 3 months. Maybe you're a person who listens to a certain song at least 5 times a day for maybe a year or more, or off and on, but throughout your whole life. because it's something that draws us back. There's emotion, there's excitement, there's that emotion, that feeling inside of you when you hear or see that thing, that person, that individual, or those things that maybe you do. A better approach: test intensity with small, purposeful requests. Ask for consistency in small things: arriving on time, a call when they said they'd call. If the person handles tiny responsibilities, they're more likely to handle the big ones. And obviously vice versa. Trying to earn love through help. That's the third one. This was one of the subtler traps for me. Believing my value would come through what I did. Gifts of acts of service, I guess. Fixing someone's problem felt like evidence that I belonged. Maybe if I paid a bill or made the plans or took care of logistics, maybe I wrote the letter, maybe I did the work. Surely love would land, right? The reason why it felt right was that it's tangible, it's measurable. You can see the result, ocular many times, or ocularly. The dishes done, dinner made, laundry washed and folded, groceries bought, shelved, cooked, deadlines met, emailed, interviewed. It feels like contribution. But why it hurts? Tying worth to usefulness reduces love to basically just a utility. People start contacting you when they need a service, not when they want companionship. You lose reciprocity and become the person who is reliable but not prioritized. You become an individual stat on a depth chart, maybe. My number 2 or my number 3, or my cleanup guy or my cleanup girl. But when it makes sense, of course, 2 people in partnership, where roles are explicitly agreed. Caretaker during illness, support during temporary crisis, and where the care is reciprocated over time, not just one-sided. Better approach: separate contributions from emotional currency. Do acts of service because you want to, not to buy someone's affection. Keep a mental ledger of emotional returns. Is affection reciprocated? At the very least, are you visible beyond the things that you do for them? Number 4, over-explaining feelings. I know you get excited. I know you want them to know you more. I know that you want them to know every little nook and cranny about you, for who you really are. Because there's something in us as people's desire to be known by someone, really known. They say that most of us have skeletons in our closets. And There's things that you would never, ever, ever want to tell a single soul in most of our lives. Maybe a mistake you made, maybe a place you went, a relationship you had, a thing you did. Maybe you took something, stole something, maybe you hurt someone physically or just mentally, and you know that it was you. And maybe it's something you need to get off your chest to another person, but you hold it in. And maybe that's an extreme case, but the point is you want to over-explain and explain because you want them to know, because you think if they know, they'll feel the way you feel, and it would just make it all so much more cozy. We've all done this, poured pages into a text, maybe, convinced that if we could only map our internal logic clearly enough, the other person would see us and feel the same way, maybe. The problem is feelings don't obey syllogism. Why it felt right? You think clarity will force empathy. If they understand the architecture of your pain, they'll try to fix the leak. Why it hurts? Long explanations often feel like pleas. They hand the other person a script they can ignore, misread, or weaponize. If someone isn't willing to meet your emotion, a 10-paragraph explanation will not change that. When it makes sense, when you're talking to someone who has shown curiosity, willingness to engage, when you need to document a pattern for your own clarity, or, for example, with a therapist or on a podcast. No. A better approach, say less, but mean more. Use 1 or 2 crisp sentences. When you do X, I feel Y. I'd like Z. That's clear and actionable. If they ask for more, give it. But don't give your whole autobiography as an opening move. Number 5, confusing mixed signals for hope. Mixed signals is a signal, straight up by itself. This is one of those cruelest, illusions. Small gestures dressed up as meaning, a nickname, a touch, a message after midnight, breadcrumbs that keep you hungry and keep you coming for more. Why it felt right? Well, scarcity magnifies value. If they text you once a day or twice a day, it's something. Whereas if they've texted you 27 times in the last 15 minutes, it's like, If attention is rare, it feels precious. You tell yourself, they're inconsistent now, but they'll come around. Why it hurts? Mixed signals keep you emotionally on standby. They teach your brain to crave the next hit instead of seeking stability. You end up defending behaviors instead of demanding actual clarity. When it makes sense. Very rarely. Maybe in transitional seasons where both people explicitly agree it's casual. Even then, be honest about expectations. Better approach. Name the pattern. I noticed X. Y, I'd rather know if this is casual or committed. Demand answers that fit the stakes of your heart. Number 6, trying to re-win respect after it's lost. When your value drops in someone's eyes, the natural move is to hustle your way back, gripping and clawing your way back to a level that you were on. Look better, perform better, prove yourself. That's understandable, but nearly always exhausting and ineffective. When it felt right. Well, you're human. You want to be seen as desirable again. You think if you become better, you'll reverse the ranking. Why it hurts? Respect isn't an earned on-demand commodity. Once someone has filed you as optional, they are likely to keep you in that folder. You end up chasing an impression, not a relationship. When it makes sense. I guess in professional contexts where reputation is repairable through sustained change, not in emotional ranking where the other person's pattern is the variable. Better approach? Direct your energy inward. Be better for you, your craft, your health, your friends. If someone notices, great. If not, you gain something that can't be taken away, and it's yours, and you did it for you. 7. Generosity turn into currency. Gifting and giving are beautiful until generosity becomes the means by which you expect a relationship to be validated. When you think you're paying for it, that's crazy. You can't do that. It doesn't work, and it's just not a good way to train yourself or someone you're with. Why it felt right? Well, giving feels like proof of love, right? So even if you're doing it for the wrong reasons, but you have a good heart, maybe, like, I don't know how to really, when you're doing something maybe for the wrong reason, but then at the same time you're doing it and it feels good alone, standing alone. But of course you have decided to add some extra sauce to it, some extra leaven, some extra yeast when it didn't need it. And getting a return feels like validation. You think, if I give enough, love will follow. Why it hurts? It teaches others you're willing to subsidize the relationship. It can create a transactional pattern that's hard to break because it'll be expected, where affection is measured in gifts and deeds rather than presents. And then you just have to keep repeating it because that's what you started. When it makes sense. In cultures or relationships where gifting is a language of care and it's mutual, or when you can genuinely afford to give without expecting emotional ROI. The better approach, set an internal threshold for generous acts tied to mutual investments. If you give, do it because you want to, but certainly not wanting or expecting or needing to prove something or to get anything back. It's kind of like, and just in my opinion, right? If you're walking, and I'm going to do it this way, I could do it really shortly, but I just want you to get the idea. Let's just say you were downtown in whatever city you live in, or you're in the towny town of the town you're living in. And you see a man lying on a cardboard box, tattered clothes, maybe unkept hair, dirty face. And he says, "Hey, can I bother you for $1, $1, £1, a shilling?" or whatever. And you kind of, you don't really like to give out stuff like that, but you never know when you're really helping the genuine. Like, $1 not going to do anything for you. You know what I mean? $1 in anybody's note wouldn't do anything. It's not going to change your life. It's not going to change his life, but he might be able to get a drink or something to eat and, pass, at least satisfy him for maybe 2 or 3 hours or more for the day, maybe. And you give that dollar, right? You give that note, you give that coin. You 100% are not expecting anything. Now, you might be expecting that maybe people, passerbyers or onlookers, saw you do it. You're like, oh, I'm such a good person. But generally, you're not expecting actual money in return, right? Maybe you were doing it for looks. Then I guess you got your money's worth. But my point is, you don't expect anything from that person that you're giving it to, because they don't have anything to give back. And I think if you treat every situation where you're going to give something to someone and treat it like they don't have anything to give back to you, you're much better off. But don't give expecting. Number 8. Interpreting silence as strategy. We romanticize playing it cool. We think silence will create longing. Mostly it creates distance. Out of sight, out of mind. Why it felt right? Silence can signal dignity. It can raise curiosity. It can protect your heart. Why it hurts? Silence used as manipulation rarely creates the comeback you imagine. If someone cares, they'll notice your absence. If they don't, silence just becomes absence, and absence is the thing you wanted to avoid anyway. I guess, right? No. You wanted to avoid absence, and that's what you got. Sometimes it just works that way, though. Playing a real tricky game. When it makes sense, when you actually need space to think, to recover, to protect yourself, communicate that. I need a day. I'll call tomorrow. That's different from the passive aggressive silence that it's meant to provoke people. A better approach? Use silence to replenish and not to punish. If you must test someone, make it a small, cautious experiment, and be ready to accept the truth it reveals in any case. Number 9. Seeing yourself as the exception. Think you're special, right? Yeah. This one is dressed in hope. They hurt their exes, sure, but I'm the one who's different. We want to be the anomaly in someone's pattern, the person who finally breaks the cycle, breaks the mold. Sometimes that's true, but often it's not. Why it felt good? Hope is a gut level survival mechanism. It protects you from the terror of permanence, the idea that that this is who you are and this is who they are. But why it hurts? It makes you rewrite the evidence to fit the fantasy. You excuse behaviors and wait longer for repair that never comes. You stay in relationships or situations longer than you should. You become emotionally invested in change that's not happening. When it makes sense, if the person is in active therapy, has tangible, observable change over time, and communicates clearly about the steps they are taking to be different. The better approach? Watch patterns, not promises. If someone's behavior matches a past pattern, treat it as data, not as a dare. Let the data inform your choices so you know what you're doing and why you're doing it. Lastly, believing closure comes from them. Listen, we wait for explanations, an apology, a neat sentence that finally makes sense of all the mess. Waiting for closure from the other person, apologies, is one of the most dangerous delays in, healing. Sometimes you just gotta let that pain breeze out. Don't look for band-aids. Sometimes it just needs air so it can dry out and heal. Why it felt right? Human beings want meaning. Getting a story from the other side seems like the only way to make sense of pain that you don't get. Why it hurts? Sometimes that explanation never comes, or it comes in a form that isn't true. Waiting for them to finish the narrative hands them the power to keep you stuck if they feel like it, or get you twisted when it makes sense. When the other person is willing to engage honestly and you feel safe enough to hear them without reopening flesh wounds or fresh wounds. The better approach? Create your own closure. You know what you did. You know what happened. You know how it made you feel. Maybe write an unsent letter. Say your piece once and for your own reasons. Not to move them, but to move yourself along. Accept silence as an answer. Maybe there was no respect. Maybe there was no love. The silence is saying something, but are you listening? Move with the facts, not the hope that someone will tidy everything up and, tidy up your grief for you. Those 10 things aren't, punching cards of shame. They're patterns, strategies that make sense in the short term but break you over time. The blunt truth I learned is this. Most of the moves we make out of love are reasonable on paper, but reckless in practice when applied without boundaries and reciprocal behavior. So what do you walk away with? A shorter, practical list. Preserve your dignity. Test consistency early. Separate kindness from obligation. Measure actions more than words. And refuse to be someone's rehearsal for better behavior. A quick practical checklist, for the next 30 days, if you will. Ask one clarifying question early in new connections. Are you dating or keeping things casual? When you give help, set a limit and one reciprocity check. Replace one long message with one short sentence and a boundary. If you see a pattern you don't like more than twice, treat it as a policy and data and not a problem. Create small rituals for your healing. At least one small one. A morning walk, an afternoon weight lift, a non-negotiable friend call each week, or a short phone lock at night. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be intentional. And that's enough, really. If this landed with you, keep it close. Listen again, maybe. Share it with someone who needs a wake-up call or a hug from the other side. I'll be here, learning, falling, and trying to do better myself. You don't need to learn every lesson the hard way in yourself. Let some of mine be yours. Some of mine be yours, for sure. Pre-checked for the parts that sting. Anyhow, guys, you've been listening to You're Probably Right. I am your host and friend, MCM. Take care of your heart, yo. Hey, come check out You're Probably Right podcast. Society is getting more unpredictable every day, but at the same time, predictable in its unpredictability. Say that 4 times real fast. Come with me as I attempt to find clarity in all the fog while staying way outside the box and kicking the box way down the road with my size 12 dogs. I use the Bible, experience, education, fortune, misfortune, life's lessons, life's mistakes to sort through all the mess. I talk about news, God, God, self-help, sports, sickness, health, music, parenting, love, humbleness, hurt, pain, joy, and all the things that might make you say, I never thought of it that way. Hopefully, anyway. Also, I take a stab at answering tough and not so tough questions, and all the while, understand that, listen, sometimes you end up in the hot seat and there's no thermostat. Well, that's how it is here. And because there's no topic, very few topics off the table, Torontonians will understand that Doug Ford reference there. Hopefully the podcast will be helpful and uplifting. And hey, maybe you'll find your own private Idaho here somewhere. Hope to see you soon.